Hi guys, how y'all doing today? Julian from 5x30. Making a video today to show you guys how to make the Pallet Breaker. I named it Bane because what's the story behind Bane? He's the only one that's ever broken Batman's back, and that's what a Pallet Breaker does, is break things. So we're just going to go over simple things, very quick, very easy. Doesn't take that long to build. Very cheap to build. This is mostly made out of reclaimed wood and stuff I've gotten off of job sites that were getting thrown away. It's very cheap to build. Probably build it under $20. So stick around and let's see how this gets made. Alright, so as you can see, you really don't need much to make this. It's not very long, not very hard. You don't need any expensive equipment, nothing. I try to keep things simple and straight to the point. So basically you're going to need your runner for the lever, I do personally think that you should use a 2x4 for the sides, or what I call the wings. You are going to need 2 pry bars. Now these are going to probably be the most expensive things you'll need to buy. If you go to Harbor Freight, you can get them for about, I think it's a 2-pack. You get a, what are they? 2-piece 9-inch and 11-inch long pry bars. Now these are the 9 inches, 11 are on Bane right now. You can get them for, I think they're like $3 or $4 for a pack. So there you go, get 2 packs, that's all you need, and you can make 2 Banes. Of course, you'll need a drill with a 3/8 bit. Coping saw, if you don't have a bandsaw, I suggest not doing this on a scroll saw. You can use a jigsaw too if you want. But I'm going to show you all how to use it with a coping saw. And you can actually even use it with your regular rip saw. I can show you how to do that as well. Tape measure, of course. Now you'll need for the hardware to connect everything. These are 3/8 inch washers, 3/8 inch lock washers, and 3/8 inch bolt or nuts, lock washers, and washers. You're gonna need a total of 8 for everything. Hacksaw, if you go the route I go, which is using, as you can see this here, 3/8 inch all thread, or threaded rod is what some people call. In my business we call it all thread. You can also do this with lag bolts. You're still going to need the lock washers and the regular washers if you go that route. But again, lag bolts, that's up to you. It's your decision if you want to cut that. If that's the case, again, you won't need the hacksaw. So now, to show you what we need to do. So as you can see, I'm basically using a cup to round out and draw a circle around the bottom part of the lever. And here I am trying to use a coping saw. I'm not very skilled at it. I usually don't like a coping saw. But when you have to use it, you've got to use it. I do show you a little bit how to cut a curve with a regular handsaw. And here I basically just said, screw the coping saw, I'm going to go ahead and use my regular handsaw. I'm basically just cutting lines straight lines to the line that I've drawn, and then from there I basically take out chunks. So you're basically doing the same thing you would do like on a bandsaw if you had to make a tight. It's just using a different tool. Not the cleanest cut, but it'll work for what we need to do. Now here I'm basically measuring out this board. I'm gonna go center. I know it's long enough to fit 2 pry bars, so that's basically what I'm doing. Is just gonna cut it in half. Doesn't have to be 100% even, just close enough. Here I'm basically tracing out the curve for the pry bar because the pry bar's got to lay on top of it. That's basically all it is. Again, it doesn't have to be exact. The closer it is, the better. But I would do it on the inside, not on the outside like I just did. Again, here I make the cuts. As I'm making the cuts, I'm just making several straight lines to the line that I was doing. The closer the cuts are, the easier it is whenever you go to cut the curve out. And that is how you cut a curve with a handsaw. It's not the prettiest, but for this application, again, it'll work. You can always use some sandpaper and clean it up. Here, I'm just measuring it out, checking the angle of it. Looks good. Now here's where the easy and fun part is. If you can get a circular saw or a jigsaw, go with the jigsaw. It's a lot easier. I should have done those straight cut lines again here. It makes cutting curves a lot easier. I didn't. I was just trying to rush it for some reason. So again, jigsaws they're fairly cheap. So if you can get one, grab one. You could also do it on a bandsaw, which I have it inside. I just chose not to do it on this. So as you can see, what I just showed, you don't always necessarily need new fancy dancy tools. You don't always need power tools. You can use a handsaw. And so hopefully I showed you, yes, it's a lot easier with a jigsaw, but if all you can afford is a regular handsaw or rip saw, then you can do it. It's just gonna take a little while. And again, This is a rough project. It's a pallet breaker. It's not supposed to be pretty. So the one that I did with the ripsaw is going to look nasty. That's fine. If you want to clean it up, you want to church it up, go ahead, get some sandpaper. I'd go 80, then I wouldn't go 60. I'd just go 80, maybe 120. I wouldn't go 220. That's unless you really want to make it look good and pretty. But that's up to you. That's all you. If you want to customize it, go ahead. So let's finish up these wings. Next, I got to cut the back part for the roundness of it, because if it's a square, it ain't going to go too well whenever you have to pull it back and pry it back. All right, let's get to it. Here I'm just lining up the board to the bottom where it's already cut, and I'm basically making it the same angle or the same curve to it. And then I'm just going to go ahead and cut it out with the jigsaw. Also, I should have been wearing my safety glass in the very beginning, and I didn't, but always wear your safety glasses. And just checking it, it looks good from here. One thing I suggest doing, which you'll see me do, is mark left and right, or front and back, however you want to do it, with a 1 and a 2, an A or a B. I ended up using an A or a B, A and B, just so I know what side's what. Right now, we're going to go ahead and mark where I'm going to be drilling the holes. I have both wings clamped on there, so when I drill, it goes straight through and I don't have to worry about lining things up and if it's going to be off or not. It's very simple and straightforward. I suggest doing it that way. It's a little easier and it's a little more accurate, so you don't have to worry about things. So here's where we're going to figure out where we need to cut the all thread. What I did is I basically put the washer and the lock washer and the nut, and I pushed it all the way through, and then from there I'm going to hold the washer, the lock washer, and the nut up next to that, and then mark where I need to cut. I would suggest cutting them a little bit longer, and you'll see why later on. I suggest whenever you go to cut this, you either bring your mark closer to the table or you pull your clamp closer to your mark. The reason being is that when you start doing it, you'll see me, I'll actually move it, but it gets a little harder to cut and it kind of gets caught. So it just makes it a little easier on you. It's something, anything that makes my life a little easier, I would do, and a little cleaner. You want to try to go as straight as you can with these cuts, because whenever you go and put the nut on, if it's cut at an angle or the threads are off, you're going to have a hard time getting the nut on. So the straighter you can do this, I do this a lot, so it's easy for me to do it, but the straighter you are, the less you have to worry about it. Here I'm going to go ahead and put it all together. So the first thing you want to do is you want to put the flat washer on first, and then you put the lock washer on second, and then you take the nut and you tighten that on. Now here all I did was hand tighten these for now. I'll go through later on and tighten them with a wrench. So here I'm marking the hole on the pry bar where I'm going to be putting the bolt through. It's important that you make sure that it is not intersecting the bolts going through. So I'm just off and that's perfectly fine. So a little tip I can give here, since I am on an angle here, I start off trying to go straight, drilling straight. What you would do is angle it like I just did, and then straighten it up. Now here again, these don't have to be straight, 100% straight lines, as long as it's going all the way through. So we're going to go ahead and tighten this down. Now these are 3/8 nuts and bolts, or well, not nuts and bolts, but 3/8 all thread and 3/8 bolts. So what you're actually going to need to use is a 9/16, and this is apparently going backwards since it's on a selfie mode, but 9/16 is the wrench you want to use. I have a socket and a wrench. You could do just 2 sockets, you could do 2 ratchets, whatever you want to do. I like using these two. Again, it's 9/16. So one of the parts I cut out is whenever you get this, 3/8 inch all thread will not go through the pry bar. It's just barely too big. So basically what you do is you take your 3/8 inch drill bit, you put a block of wood up underneath the pry bar, you clamp it down, and you go slowly to where you drill it out. It doesn't take much. If you have to, you might have to go in reverse first and then go forward to drill that out. I want to share with you something that I made, a mistake that I made the first time, and I wanted to make it again just so I could show y'all. So if y'all could see, this gap right here is not a very big gap. That's not going to go through a runner. Again, that's another reason why I like to use runners off of actual pallets, because that's going to be the thickness of one usually. So what we're going to do here is we are going to create a wedge that goes right in here. Doesn't have to be far. I just need to get these wings off this lever just a little bit. I'll show you what I mean on my on Bane. All right, as you can see, granted, the new one's not as good as Bane, but I know where I messed up, and I'll explain that in a little bit. You can see this little gap right here, how it kind of folds the wings out a little bit. That's not going on here, so we need to do that here. If you can see closely, here, if you can see it, there's a small little piece of wood that I put as a wedge. Now that does not go all the way down. I really wish I could zoom in on this. All right. You're not gonna be able to see it. It's just a small wedge that I have that pushes it out. So that's what we're gonna do here. Any scrap of wood really will do. You just need something thin. So I found a piece of 1/4 inch plywood scrap that I had. Just a piece of junk. That's why we save all your scrap. And it's so weak that I can actually just pretty much break it with my hand. It's really all you need to do. Doesn't need to be precise, doesn't need to be anything. Just something I can put in there and wedge it out. So as you can see, I'm going to go right about in between here Right about there is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to loosen these back up on both sides, slip those in, and then crank it down, and it should work. Alright, so as you can see, there is a gap now. That's perfect. By the way, don't worry about this. I was doing something else with this a while ago. So, as long as these are wider than this runner, you're fine. Bane actually, the ones I have there actually move back and forth. It gets a little annoying, but it's alright. Because you never know, not all runners are the exact same length. Some of them are actually wider. So you do want a little play in that so you can move it out and in. So you see there's a gap, but again, it's quite alright because you're really not going to need it. It's not really going to matter. So tighten everything up. Now at this point, you're done. So like I said, at this point you're done. Now what I did on Bane is I actually made a handle for him to make it easier. This lever here, it'll work. It's a little annoying, that's a little hard to handle. I didn't really like it. So what I did with Bane is I cut this little hand. Again, do it with jigsaw. I showed you how you can do it by hand with a handsaw. Round it over using sandpaper. So this here is a lot more comfort for me to hold and grab and to pull. So if you want, you can go ahead and do that. I'm gonna go ahead and cut that real quick, and then I will show you the test run on it. All right, well, so the handle's all done. Let me get out of light. Handle's all done. As you can see, I cut it down. I cut a little bit here, a little curve, make it look nice. And this here is perfect for my hand. Now you don't want to make it too thin because remember you're going to be using a lot of force, and if it's made out of a easy pine, a light pine, it might break. Shouldn't. That's why I like to build mine out of oak. So pallet breaker's finally done. You can see still rough around here. You can always clean it up, sand it if you want. Here's a little test run we're going to do. The pallet I have. Stick it in, push it under. You will have them break on occasion. It also depends on the type of wood and quality of the wood. And the thickness of the wood. Keep it on. Here's the other thing, if you do have them pop out like that, nail. Great thing about this, if you've ever tried to get these nails out, they are hard. But with the pallet breaker, Bane, they're quick and easy. Alright, that's it. So, thanks for watching. Hope this video helps out. If anything, feel free to ask. You can follow me on Instagram. It's 5x30 woodworking. I hope this really helps other people. Figured I'd go ahead and make this video for others to do, and might as well make it something in the process. If you guys like it, subscribe, like it, let other people know. If I can help 1 or 2 people out, that'd be great. It's kind of what I'm making. And stay tuned. I'm hopefully going to be making more videos. Alright, put your boots on and get out and make something.